Hi, welcome to the channel. My name is Guy. I am a data analytics consultant. A common mistake I see, especially from junior analysts, is calculating averages over averages. So let's have a look at a quick example to understand what happens when you do this and why you shouldn't, and potential fixes. So let's take this very stylized data. We have campaign A, we have campaign B, we have some metrics like total cost and clicks. Very simple data, but also very common in marketing analytics. And let's say you're analyzing this data. So you create a data frame, and here we can see 14 rows, very simple, nothing complicated. So now you're thinking, let's calculate cost per click. So that's easy. You just divide the total cost column by the number of clicks. And a small aside here, as a Python analyst, you should always use np.divide when you're doing this, since this will correctly handle divide by zero cases. But that's a simple aside. So now we have the CPCs per campaign per time. Fair enough. Now we're doing a dashboard or we're doing an analysis and we want to calculate what is the average CPC per campaign, campaign A and campaign B. So this is simple. You just group by campaign, you aggregate, you do the sum of clicks, the sum of total cost, and the mean of CPC. And there we have it. The mean of campaign A, the mean CPC of campaign A is 0.52 or 0.53 if you round it. Now, this value is actually wrong. If you calculate it correctly, i.e., let's first group by the campaign, calculate the total number of clicks, the total number of costs per campaign, and if then we create the average CPC, we'll find that average CPC for campaign A is 0.515. For campaign B, it was 2.5, and now it's 2.2. So what the hell is wrong here? And what is the correct value? The correct value is in fact this one. What's essentially happening here is that you are, and if you go back, what Pandas is doing here, and I've seen this mistake happen in Excel, R, take your pick. So this is not Pandas, this is not a specific Pandas problem. But essentially what he's doing is he's taking all the values from campaign A from the CPC column, 0 0.5, 0 0.5, 0 0.6, and so forth, summing them up and dividing by 7. Why is that wrong? Because the number of clicks is not the same. This is not a simple average. This should be a weighted average. Here, you're not doing that. You're aggregating before, so no average is being calculated before, and then you're just calculating the average, total cost divided by clicks. Now, to get a little bit of an intuition, let's take a simpler example where we have two datasets, Group A and Group B. And for the purpose of this example, Group B has less data points. And this is on purpose. The reason is that Group B will influence the total average. So again, we'll create the data frame. This is our data frame, Group A, Group B, no problems here. And now we'll try and create the means. So now we have the averages or means for Group A and for Group B, and we have the counts. We're going to be using the counts later, but we can now see that Group A average is 34.238 and Group B average is 26.75. Now, this is the most simple example of do not do averages on averages because very junior analysts or amateur analysts tend to do, if they're not aggregating at this level and they're just calculating the total average of groups, they'll just calculate the average. Done. You do the summary groups, you select the means, you select the mean method, you get 30.494, which is wrong. The true total mean, which you can get to it by unstacking the data frame, which is basically a fancy pandas way of saying I'm going to collapse both columns into the same column, you can see that the true mean is 33.04. Again, this is a matter of weights. You only have 4 elements on group B versus way more elements on group A, so you can't do an average on an average when the weights are different. It's the same thing as in the previous example. Now, is there any way, without having access to the underlying data, that you can correctly calculate this average? Well, there is, and that's why we calculated the counts before. If you have the counts and you have the averages, you can correctly calculate the weighted average. So the weighted average is simply the average that is weighted by the proportion of the counts. It's a very fancy way of saying that we need to see what is the percentage of group A on the overall dataset and the percentage of group B on the overall dataset. So simply 21 divided by 21 plus 4 and 4 divided by 21 plus 4. And that will give you 84% for group A and 60% for group B. And now calculating the average is simple. You basically multiply the proportion times the means. Now that you have both the counts, the means, and the proportions, in pandas, it's relatively easy to calculate this. You just multiply both the means with their respective proportions, and then you add them up. And now we see that we have recovered the original correct mean, 33.04. So this might seem very simple and doesn't justify a video on it, but recently I was reviewing some exercises for a process where I was hiring for an analyst, and I saw this exact mistake, and it's incredibly easy to make. Even I sometimes need to catch myself on it, but the intuition is quite simple once you understand it. Do not calculate averages on averages, being it in Python, Excel, R, or wherever. There are some tools that handle this for you. For instance, if you create a Power BI visual and you create the averages, then if you select to see the average of all groups, Power BI will correctly do the right thing, which sometimes throws off some junior analysts because now they think that Power BI is doing the wrong thing when actually Power BI is doing the right thing. But this is an example, and you should never rely on a tool to do the right thing. You should know the underlying reason why. So I hope you have enjoyed, and please like and subscribe if you want to see more videos. Thank you.